Hello, we're Chris and Tabitha from Toolangi, Victoria, and we'd like to welcome you to our virtual home tour for Sustainable House Day 2020. We hope you enjoy seeing our Toolangi Offgrid forest home. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, especially the Toongarung people on which our house is built. We pay our deep respects to elders both past, present and emerging. We owned our 120-acre bush block for more than 15 years before we began to build. We knew we wanted a sustainable, low-maintenance family home which sat comfortably in the landscape. With no services or infrastructure available on site, going off-grid was a great option. The dense forests which surrounded us meant that we had to build to a very high bushfire attack level, Bell 40, but this also meant building materials would be very insulative, draft-proof, and have great thermal properties. For 3 years, we adapted the design, researched sustainable building principles and properties, and collected building materials and fittings, many second-hand to upcycle, restore, and repurpose. In mid-2014, the clearing of 4 acres allowed us space for our development: house, effluent field, water tanks, shed, driveway, solar access, and defendable space. The house was designed on passive house and sustainable building principles. I built a scale model of the house design from a cardboard box stuck together with masking tape and sat it on site to see where the shadows fell and where the sun shone. It was easy to modify and trim with a pair of scissors.
A concrete slab with underfloor heating and hydronic pipes we put in, and with a semi-polished finish with glass inlaid and exposed aggregate. Thermal mass is for passive heating and cooling. The slab ended up being 150 ml thick, 1.2 rated. Originally, we wanted a thermally broken slab. That was going to add a lot of expense at the time, so we didn't. And the slab was originally going to be 100 ml, but went to 150 ml, which was fantastic in the end for our result. The hydronic heating system runs for basically 3 or 4 hours a day, heating the slab up, and the house stays comfortably at 22 to 23 degrees all day, even when it snowed the other day. We first saw this product at a trade show and instantly fell in love with it. The walls are Formcraft ICF blocks, 270 ml thick altogether and R3.7 rated. The concrete filled for thermal mass. It's a very fast and affordable way to build and financially sustainable. Concrete has a high level of emitted energy. I've heard a few people say that, and as well as polystyrene. But when you take into account the energy savings of heating and cooling, the offset is achieved in under 12 months. So it's an absolute win-win product. The finishing for the walls was a concrete semi-rough render with natural rock gabion cladding around the bottoms of it. This was done, one as a feature, and 2 to protect the polystyrene a little bit, plus it also adds with ember protection. And it's very well blended into the environment. The roof. Looking for a better product when we decided on this this style of roofing, and there's got to be a better way to do it, and we're absolutely wrapped with the end result of how the roof turned out. There are Askin XLAM SIPS panels, and they're rated at 8.1 R rating, so well beyond anything. 37.5 degrees pitch, asymmetrical salt box roof line, made for some interesting times putting them up. It's sort of never been done before on that sort of angle, these panels, but we got it done in about 6 days. It all went together very well in the end. Windows are double glazed, 6 ml thick, low-E glass with aluminium frame and fireproof door seals around all the external doors to comply with the Bell rating. Power. due to the high expense of bringing power to the block was also another reason we wanted to go off grid. So we ended up coming up with this system. I wired it all myself, being an electrician. It's a 12 kilowatt of panels, battery storage 1500 amp hours at 48 volts, and there's a 7.5 kilowatt SP Pro electronic inverter, powers the whole thing. But due to a few reasons, including the lockdown and poor weather, we're currently upgrading the system to 18 kilowatts of panels. So one downfall, I suppose, about this house with the walls and the roof products is once it's finished, I can't run any more wires again. So we decided to go down the path of automation, which gives us huge flexibility in the way we do things. It allows us to live here for a bit and then start modifying some of the living style patterns with the wiring that when we choose to. We use the C-bus and Leverton hybrid system, which communicates with inverters and all the other little bits and pieces around the house, and allows us to be trying to be as energy efficient as absolutely possible. One small energy tip I'd sort of put in is when you turn a hot tap on, it takes so long for the hot water to come through on most houses. So we put a reticulated ring main in, and which has got a pump system. So as soon as you turn the hot water on, it's there. Problem was I didn't want the pump running the whole time because you're getting losses through the pipes and with the pump itself. So we put motion sensors in all the bathrooms and toilets or wet areas. So when you enter that room, the pump starts. So in theory, by the time you get undressed to have a shower, hot water's there, you turn the hot tap on and straight up is way there. And we can also disarm the pumps during the day when the alarm's set, so the dogs don't and cats don't trigger them and set the pumps off randomly, so we don't get any losses there. Heat recovery ventilation. The system puts a fresh air change through the house 6 times a day. This prevents stale air conditioning and condensation and mould build-up due to the house being so well sealed up. Also allows for temperature equalisation between rooms, upstairs, downstairs, and also between inside and out. And basically runs on 2 30-watt fans that just tick over all day and take the air in and take the air out with a 93% efficiency for the recovery of heating and cooling for what's going outside. Generally speaking, I think 99% of people I've showed it to have no idea what it is, and yet they're mandatory on all new houses in France and Europe and all places like that where extreme temperatures are a lot far worse in Australia. But with new buildings being so well sealed up, it's creating its own set of problems with condensation and the like. So become a bit of a no-brainer to put this in. Boiler and hot water system. The wood-fired boiler, it's rated at 45 kilowatts, lives in the garage and heats the hot water, slab heating, 2 towel rails, as well as 2 hydronic panels. One of these panels we used inside a cupboard, which we use for a drying cabinet, especially through winter. And we've got solar evacuated tubes on the roof for summertime hot water, as well as if the batteries get up there and go to float stage, as a load dumper, put a element inside the hot water service, so the power on the hot, on nice sunny days just gets put into the hot water. So we never ever ran out of hot water. We get asked a fair bit, how much wood do we go through? We go through about an average a wheelbarrow a day. So the boiler gets lit at night time, and then gets loaded a few more times, and then gets shut off when we go to bed. Then the house just remains a nice constant temperature throughout the day. Switchboard room. Yes, have a whole room for all my little wires, about 7 kilometres all up of cabling around the place. As I said earlier, I can't get into the wall, so I sort of went to town running wires here, there and everywhere. I've got wires going all outside to various pits. And basically, each power point is one wire back to the switchboard room, which gives me flexibility through the automation system. That if Tab, for example, wants to do some slow cooking, we can make the cooker come on at 10 o'clock in the morning when the sun's out. Or, the kids won't get off the Xbox, so I just turn the power point off to the Xbox. As part of the drenching system, we didn't have to put it in on the building permit, but we wanted to, just to give ourselves another layer of protection if a bushfire does come through. Over the house, we can put about 700 litres a minute over the house, which is nice and satisfying watching it on a stinking hot day. We'd be kidding ourselves to think a bushfire would never come through, perhaps, potentially. It's where we chose to live, so it was a bit of a no-brainer. part of the water system being built in progress. Half the manifold goes to untreated sources like the toilets and the fire hoses and reels and things like that, and it goes through UV stereoflow, which neutralises any little nasties that potentially live in the water, and then that all goes out to around the house, and I've plumbed it in such a way that I can actually isolate it upstairs, downstairs bathrooms or toilets. So if I need to change a washer or do something there, I can actually just turn that one line off and leave the rest of the house up and going. Because we're on a pressure pump, the one I chose actually runs on a variable speed drive, so it's absolutely the most efficient pump I could possibly get my hands on. And we also put a bore in as a backup as well.
Many of the internal features of the house use raw building materials as the finished effect. For example, the internal roof material is the colour bond inside of the SIPS panel of the roofing. Likewise, the concrete slab also doubled up as the downstairs flooring. It was ground then to expose the aggregate and the inlaid glass, then burnished with a natural oil coating, which was non-toxic, low VOC, and very easily resurfaced by buffing. The same natural oil was used on the upstairs parquetry. A labour of love, this mixed Australian hardwood jigsaw puzzle was purchased second-hand for $50 and rejuvenated by individually sanding each piece and relaying in a pattern to complement the reclaimed brush box timber feature wall up the stairs. Salvage tiles were also used in the wet shower areas. The wall finishes were mainly plaster, coated with low VOC, hard-wearing paint to enhance the internal angles and create a neutral palette. A reclaimed brush box feature wall hugged the stairwell, creating height and warmth inside. This timber was cleaned with methylated spirits and then left au naturel. The kids' rooms upstairs are a bit of fun with swinging chairs, train sets, mezzanine beds, climbing walls, fairy doors and lantern lights. All the bedroom feature LED light highlight windows above the doors. The interior design uses an eclectic mix of antique and handmade rustic styles. The main focus is reclaimed and upcycled fittings and furnishings, many of which we restored by hand ourselves. A stunning green wall with indoor plants is a main feature downstairs. It uses second-hand tiles coupled with an old concrete laundry trough I got out of a paddock somewhere in Victoria, struggled onto a trailer with it, and then installed it in the middle of our lounge room. And the plants, which I love as a horticulturalist, to help humidify the air and increase livability, and they just look great. Other restored fittings include the kitchen splashback of handmade tiles, the antique clawfoot bath, and the wash stands in the bathrooms. Other hunted second-hand items include our front door, which was originally from a church, LED light windows and doors, handles and tapware. We live in a place of extreme temperatures. It can be 45 degrees Celsius in summer with bushfires and -4 degrees in winter with snow. Our house has performed amazingly well and maintains a comfortable temperature inside all year round. Not surprisingly, last year when we had our scorecard assessment done for the energy rating, our house received 10 stars. Since we've finished building, we're now increasing our self-sufficiency by growing our own vegetables, planting an orchard, citrus grove and berry patches, and using our goats as weed eaters with the added bonus of organic manure as fertiliser out the other end. The bushfire compliant landscape garden is filled with Indigenous and native plants to attract wildlife and beneficial insects for pollination. We also try to minimise our waste by composting, using bokashi buckets and worm tubes. Hopefully soon we'll get some chooks and maybe even some bees. The natural environment of our property is beautiful. with the largest trees in the valley providing habitat for rare and endangered floral and faunal species such as greater gliders and sooty owls. We've protected this into perpetuity with a Trust for Nature covenant. Our journey to build our sustainable home was filmed by Grand Designs Australia. It can be seen in Season 8, Episode 6. Thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed our virtual tour, and we'd like to thank Renew for letting us be part of Sustainable House Day.
Thank you.